269. Our email address is ncswampshop@yahoo.com. This has been another installment of the Carolina Swamp Shop. Everybody have a fantastic, great rest of your Monday, and I'll catch you tomorrow with more bargain steal savings. Have a great one.
AME 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Embattled British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is resigning as head of the UK Labour Party. Looking ahead to the selection of a successor, Starmer says he'll remain as PM until his replacement has been chosen. There have been reports of a meeting of the minds on at least some points following the initial round of U.S.-Iran talks in Switzerland. Negotiations for an agreement to permanently end the war will continue this week. Oil prices falling in tandem with gasoline prices as the U.S.-Iran talks raise hopes for an end to the war and a free flow of crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Parts of southern Illinois have been raked by tornadoes. 2 deaths and property damage reported in Jefferson County. That's about 70 miles southeast of St. Louis. The Dow's up 151 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
Of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers. Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's going to be another hot day, it looks like, but that's what you get in the middle of June. I want to wish everyone out there a happy belated Father's Day. I hope, Dads, you had a chance to have a relaxing day and enjoy some time maybe with the family. That would be a good thing, I think, Father's Day. You should do that. So I got 2 yesterday, and so I appreciate my family, and I'm blessed. And I think most of us who are fathers would definitely say that. So also real quick shout out, watched some of the U.S. Open. I thought he was going to give it away, but Wyndham Clark pulled it out. One shot win, and that was the second time he's won. This man has kind of geared himself to U.S. Opens, which means he enjoys being tortured for 4 days in a row. It was brutal up there watching those guys play and the best in the world struggle. Kind of made me feel, a little better, bringing them down to my level of poor golfing. But congratulations to him. Hey, today I've got Sean McGowan with us. He is the chairman of the Iredell County Republican Party. And we're going to take calls second half of the show. But we're going to talk a little bit just about what all is going on with the candidacy for the Iredell County School Board vacancy, District 2, and the saga of how this is going. I think the saga is maybe a good word. Sean, how you doing today?
Doing well, Jeff. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, I do this all the time. Who is Sean McGowan? Tell us a little bit about yourself, personal self side.
Well, I was born and raised in Northern Virginia. I know that's not Iredell County, but Dad worked at the Pentagon. Mom also worked for the federal government, so sort of a Air Force Army brat, but in a different way, because Dad transitioned to Department of Defense, and most of his years were at the Pentagon, so that's where I grew up, and saw a lot of change from growing up in the 70s, 80s, coming back in the 90s. Particularly the amount of traffic, the amount of buildings going up, and even though I went away to Virginia Tech for a few years, picked up a political science degree, bachelor's, and education master's. Initially came back, but it wasn't where I wanted to live forever. So, of course, still have family up there, and we visit, but when I had a chance to come to North Carolina, I actually bought my first house down here in Mooresville in 2008 and started working for a construction company right here in South Iredell County. My wife and I, Brooke, got married in 2010, and she had a house in Harrisburg, so we kind of flipped a coin and went there because she was already kind of settled in over there with our two daughters, and so we spent time there, and that's about when I got involved in local politics and helping out the GOP and figuring out what a county convention is, what a state convention is, what's a plan of organization, and somehow that bug bit us, and we continued being active when we moved to Oklahoma to be closer to Brooke's family for a bit. Spent a couple years in Hawaii, and then moved back here to Iredell County.
That ain't a hard place to go hang out, Hawaii. So
They made it hard on you in 2020. If you remember, that was the COVID year, and that also made us think, is this where we want to be here forever? And the answer was no. And our oldest daughter stayed here, and we had a chance to move back here to just outside of Cleveland, but on the East Iredell side, and we lived there. We've got two grandbabies there, another granddaughter in Hawaii, and we're trying to coax that daughter to come back, but this is our forever home, and that's a bit of the story that got us here.
Well, I was going to say, with the politics in Hawaii, what's that song I think of by Poison? Every rose has its thorns. So
yeah, and you have a handful. When we were there was only one representative in the Senate that was Republican and a handful of Republicans in the House, and well, we got a chance to meet all of them real quick because it was much different, and then it was different in Deep Red, Oklahoma, where pretty much you had to register to be Republican to run for anything, even if you didn't support the platform in all its planks. So we did see quite a difference in Deep Red, Oklahoma versus Deep Blue, Hawaii, and came back to North Carolina, what they sometimes call a purple state, and see elements of both depending on where you're at.
Well, yeah, we have a very interesting state. Like I said, it looks like that. What's that? The old Verizon map deal. You know, it's red except for about 6 big dark blue spots, and those happen to be large cities. So there you go. All right. So now you're chair of the executive committee of the Iredell County Republican Party. Tell us a little bit about, because I think a lot of people don't understand county, local party politics and how these things work. So tell a little bit about the executive committee, and I guess in that, I don't even know if I want to use the word power, but there is need for an executive committee of a political party in a county.
Well, you have 60,000 registered Republicans and counting here in Iredell County. Because of the open primary, we have a handful more of our unaffiliated who may pull a Republican ballot and participate both in the primary and, of course, in the general election. They just vote for who they want to. But if you look at the election results, we're getting more than what we just have registered as far as participating in the electoral side of it. But the executive committee is the way that we run the party. So if we have, we always have elections. It seems like we're always in election season or in convention season. We have a plan of organization at the county and state level that we make tweaks on at our annual conventions. We can pass rules. We can guide the party. And the hope is that our county executive committee, which currently sits at 30 members, will have not just a diversity of opinion from various parts geographically and even ideologically within the Republican Party of Iredell County, but that you would know who your at-large member is or who your area captain is the same way you would know your General Assembly member. So if there was an issue or you saw something, hey, I don't know if they're running this the way I'd run it, you have a way to express your voice. And we meet on the fourth Monday of every month at the Ag Center. The only month we don't meet is December, and we meet Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, because that's a holiday. But tonight we'll have a meeting, and all registered Republicans are welcome to attend, ask questions, seek the attention of the chair. But you'll see if you do attend one of these meetings, it is a little bit more formal, kind of like the floor of the General Assembly, where we have Robert's Rules of Orders, we have a specific way of chairing a meeting, and we have business to get done. Our main two goals are to get Republicans elected and to raise money to do so. And so we have a annual fundraiser, the Reagan Day Dinner. We did that in Statesville this year at the end of February. Alan West was our speaker, and that was a good fundraiser for us. And so now we have decisions to make on how we'll spend that money that's come in from donors like yourself and other good Republicans across the county. And as we get to a very important election coming up here, I know that there's no presidential, but everybody out there listening, we have a very important Senate race.
Got to get out, folks.
The whole nation is looking at whether we will allow Whatley to take the torch of North Carolina Republicans, like he did, serving for us at the state and RNC level, and or if we're going to succumb to more Roy Cooper, and I'll just leave it at that. But we will generally spend money on campaign-related activities, putting a mailer into everybody's mailbox, setting up a headquarters, renting that, and so all of those little decisions is how you would run the board and the reason for it.
Yeah, we'll usually have a headquarters in Statesville and usually one in Mooresville when we do it. So if you need literature, you need information on candidates, and you don't really want to go a website, you'd rather hear them face to face, there'll be people manning or womening, whichever it happens to be, these different headquarters so that you can go and get information. And like I said, the big thing I think is really important the party does is we call it a palm card because it's not real big, and you can kind of put it in the palm of your hand, and we'll either mail or hand out a lot of times at the different polls, especially early voting, so that you've got something to go in. And down the ballot is so important, and people don't realize how important it is. A lot of people just maybe want to go in and say, I'm going to vote for Whatley because I can't stand Roy Cooper or whatever they're going to do it. Well, there's people like myself who are maybe 2 elections down underneath that on the list this year, maybe 3. I got to look and see. So got Harrington, probably got the Senate race, Vicky, probably me. So I'm probably number 4.
Yeah, and so you would be part of the county, and you can always go to NC Voter Lookup and find out if you don't currently know who your General Assemblyman is. It may be Jeff, it may be Todd Carver, it may be Mitchell Setzer, and all 3 of them need your vote to keep working for you and be up there. But also we've got some judges. We have 3 running for the Court of Appeals and a Supreme Court judge. It's not getting a lot of attention this year because of the numbers, but if we go the wrong way on this, come 2028, there's a few more seats, and we could cede the swing of the Supreme Court, for instance, back to the Democrats. And we saw what that did to us with voter ID, with the bathroom bill, with all kinds of things that are conservative principles. So knowing who your conservative judges are is really important. And and us party activists have worked in North Carolina to fight for things like partisanship within the judges, because whether they are coming from a liberal perspective or a conservative perspective actually matters so much to people that when we're standing out at the polls and we said, would you like to know who your conservative judges are, particularly in Iredell County, the answer to that is yes.
Yes, and like I said, that's critical. All the down the ballot races are critical. You want to make sure that you're there and you're participating, and don't just mark the top one and go. So enough on that.
Well, if I may, there's also we're also out in the community. We participate in things like Pumpkin Fest or the Troutman Parade. We're going to have a float in the Troutman Parade, so we'll be handing out some information on how to find us on our website. We've got our websites open all year round, so if you need to reach out to us, there's a way. You'll see who is currently serving on the executive committee, including our officers, and you'll have a list there. And then finally, our Iredell County Fair, where we will generally have a booth or two booths. We'll spread out among a couple tables, and the clubs also participate. And that's a great way, if you don't know where our headquarters are, or we haven't yet opened one, come the end of August, early September, you can come and get all those touch cards. And if you don't, we'll do our best to try to find you.
Yep. Well, and usually I'm out there. There's candidates out there. So if you want to talk, it's kind of a casual atmosphere. You can get a chance to talk to different elected officials. So that's always a good thing. So trying to stay active, trying to stay present, trying to be seen. That's our job. That's the Republican Party's job, and that's the executive committee leading that. And inside that executive committee is also the Iredell County Men's Republican, the Patriot Men's Republican group, the Iredell County Women's Republican group, and then I guess the South Iredell
Republican Women of Lake Norman.
Republican Women of Lake Norman. Sorry, ladies. I got to get
and Iredell Young Republicans has come back to life, and they've been having monthly meetings, and they've got some strong leadership there.
So, and all those usually have some type of representation on the executive committee, and then we have all kind of other different people. Some at large, some do different precincts or different areas with precincts to fall. So a lot going on, a lot of people involved. Want more people involved. Always like as many as we can get involved. So all right, so we kind of told you who they are and what we are. Now let's get into where we've been talking about this. So kind of what started this process to replace somebody on the school board that stepped down that was a Republican?
Well, that was our General Assembly. By passing a general statute that gave statutory authority to either county party, whether Republicans or Democrats, in the case of a partisan vacancy. So we talked about how the judges used to not be a partisan race. So that and there is a different way.
That gave the governor an unbelievable amount of power.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. And so in the case of the Iredell Statesville Schools, there was a vacancy, and the gentleman who resigned had run as a Republican. And so when you run as a Republican, like you do, Jeff, we're going to be out at the polls. We're going to be passing out palm cards and touch cards. We're going to be reminding people to finish their ballot and vote for good Republicans up and down the ballot. And so if there was a vacancy, and in this case there was, we had already kind of put some skin in the game, if you will, by our volunteer hours and money spent to help anyone with an R by their name get elected. So there is a general statute that allows the executive board to come together and really gives us some small guidance. One is we've got to do it within 30 days. The vacancy happened at the end of January. There was a lot of bad weather, but that didn't really shift when the vacancy happened in our eyes. It just was okay. Maybe when it was communicated, that was a little bit slower due to the bad weather. But we felt, even though we had a competitive primary going on for this year's election, that we needed to do our statutory authority of at least giving a recommendation for that seat. So we called. We actually used our monthly meeting, but noted that that would be our special meeting to have this election. We notified the public over 10 days out with our website and Facebook and word of mouth saying that we were seeking any interested candidates who lived in District 2 who might be interested to send us a resume. We received 6 resumes from interested candidates. Now, one ended up polling out before the day of, but we, as a board, we interviewed 5 candidates. And the other part of the statute is that we restrict voting to those who represent precincts.
Let me ask you, did the whole board get the interview? They did, didn't they?
So the whole board was part of that meeting. So we and part of,
which is good. That's more people,
and also part of the structure that basically approved the rules of how that meeting would be run. You know, there's sometimes when everything is pretty strict and regimented, and other times we have a little bit of flexibility. We had some flexibility in this case where we could pass rules and decide how we would restrict voting. We sought some advice from NCGOP Legal. NCGOP is North Carolina Republican Party. That's the state that kind of governs all 100 counties and 14 congressional districts. And NCGOP Legal told us, the best way to restrict voting is to restrict it to those who could pull a ballot the next day. And that made a lot of sense to us, that if the election had happened tomorrow or that day, we could walk into our local precinct, we could pull a ballot, and that District 2 would be on our ballot. And we had 7 members that were in that situation. They were voting members on our XCOM, and so those 7 members were kind of given primacy, if you will, in asking questions. And I was one of those. I am a resident of District 2.
In District 2, they're all the school board districts are kind of crazily shaped. This one goes. This
is the Eastern District, but it also covers Weathers Creek High School. If you haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of fiscal questions and answers that it really would be helpful to have a seat filled there.
Big geography.
Yeah. So we had 7 members, and we had the advice of NCGOP. So we presented that. Even before the meeting, I'd presented to the XCOM members that this was the way that we were restricting voting, and if anybody had questions or concern that they could bring, and some people did, and we had some conversations, but at the end of the day, you got to make a decision one way or the other. Somebody's got to drive the car, and we can't all drive it at the same time and sit on laps. So we did drive it in a certain way, but it was an open meeting where we interviewed 5 candidates, where we welcomed questions from Republicans who were attending, and all the remaining school board members were present at that meeting and got to witness the entire good, bad, or ugly of each candidate as they came forward and answered questions.
And there's a couple that actually serve on the executive committee. Does Cindy Haynes still serve or not?
So Cindy has since resigned, but during the primary, she was still on the board at the time. She was one of our at-large, and she served the county party for a couple of years. Mike Kubinek is one of our District 10 at-large, and then Anita Kern is our treasurer.
So there actually exist on the board naturally some school board members.
That's correct.
And then the others not so naturally there.
Yeah, but of the others, Doug Knight has been an at-large before, and Rhonda Hoke not too long ago was the West area captain. Yeah. So most of them had familiarity with what the GOP is, what the executive body was.
Yeah. All right. So y'all went about the interview, and then I guess they voted, and the 7.
Yeah, so the 7 members who resided in District 2 who could pull a ballot gave their choice, and on a 6-1 vote, actually the first vote, we selected Matthew Youngblood.
Which is kind of rare, folks, on the first vote.
And if you look back at the rules, I had put in the rules that, okay, if we got 5 or 6 candidates, it might be that there's a 5-way tie for all we know, and we can have progressive voting and kind of knock off the candidates that didn't get enough votes or were at the bottom until we kind of whittled it down. We didn't need to engage in that rule because pretty much everybody was I guess taken with how Matthew presented himself. And a couple days later, I again, just doing my statutory duty, I put together a letter that I could send to the general public and to the school board to say, here is our recommendation. We hope that you'll seat him at your earliest convenience.
So y'all sent the letter, presented the candidate that y'all chose, which is Matthew Youngblood. And folks, if you were listening last week, I had Matthew on. So there's method to my madness in all this. And we're just putting it out there so everybody understands and gets the process. Because I think there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of he said, she said, this, that, and the other. So we're trying to just clarify. So then it goes to a school board who would normally have 7 members, but since one step down resigned, there is 6 members, and we got into a 3-way or 2-way split, 3 and 3, voting to take or not to take the recommendation of the executive committee. And I guess there's been they don't do it every meeting now, but they've done at least 3 times.
There's been a couple conversations, a couple votes, because the other thing that happened to the school board was that the resigning member was elected the chairman by the board back in December. He only got to serve, I think, 1 meeting or 2 meetings.
Well, I was going to say, he wasn't there long.
Yeah, it wasn't there long, which the unfortunate thing is that the school board has officially and formally been without a chairman. Now, Doug Knight has been the acting vice chairman, and he has experience as a past chairman. But I think each time they've tried to rectify that with a vote, and even getting a new chairman has kind of deadlocked at 3-3.
Well, I guess the old saying, they've agreed to disagree on just about everything.
That's right.
And that's not good at all. And I really think there's actually been times where it's actually cost the taxpayers and the school system, which is the taxpayers, monetary issues that because they cannot agree for whatever reason. So now, and then the process got to the point where they couldn't agree, they wouldn't appoint. So District 2 doesn't have representation. And, we're gonna talk about both sides of this deal. We ain't got a whole lot of time. We got about 5 more minutes. I told you it goes by pretty quick. So, there's people on the outside and people on the inside saying, well, certain people shouldn't have got to vote, or certain people should have got to voted. But I don't know if it would have changed your candidate with the amount of votes that he got.
Yeah, there were a couple.
But the process, and so now they aren't. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yes.
And one of the problems of having a board of 30 people is sometimes you have 30 different opinions.
Or more.
Or more. We're seeing that kind of deadlock exist on the school board. So there were other ways that we could have restricted voting, but I believe our statutory authority was simply to restrict voting to those who represent the precincts and those who live in the precinct. Of those 7 voters, 5 were actually precinct chairmen from our last year's precinct meeting, and another one was a precinct vice chair. So to say that this was not a representative group is kind of going the wrong way. And also, I think missing from the statute is that the school board or another body would somehow be able to kind of look and examine and look at everything. I've been very transparent and open, but I don't think they have the statutory authority to say, well, you did it right or you did it wrong. It's simply, did you do it within 30 days and did you restrict voting?
Yeah.
And it's yes to both of those.
Yeah. And so now, I guess, the Iredell County Executive Committee, Republican Party, basically has filed a lawsuit. And now what does the lawsuit basically entail?
So, yeah, and so I know that gets down the rabbit hole a little bit of, well, they're coming after these school board members or they're suing them. Well, to file any kind of lawsuit in any kind of court, it is, yes, you are suing them or initiating a suit. But in this case, all we are seeking, because several people, including some very influential members, elected representatives or just influential members of our community, have basically said that we acted against the law. We decided to say, well, we'll file this writ of mandamus, which allows a superior court judge to say, either we followed the law or we didn't follow the law. And that's all we're seeking, is to, in a sense, kind of get our reputation back as a necessary part of the Republican Party here in Iredell, that should a vacancy happen, we have a statutory responsibility, and that we don't feel it's everybody else's responsibility to say who did it right, who did it wrong, that in this case we would allow a superior court judge to say we did it right or we did it wrong. Obviously, there's some risk to that, but our goal, because we weren't seeing a lot of action on the school board, was to hope that by doing this, by filing this, we could move this down the road and stop staring at an empty chair, an empty seat on that school board.
And I think that's it. And so now, like always, it seems like now the legislature has got involved.
So the legislature was in session. So
there you go. Anything can happen. So Senator Vicky Sawyer and Vicky came to me, and I said, "You want to go after that? That's just fine. I have kept it at arm's length because I personally don't really think it's kind of in our lane. School board people are elected officials. Elected bodies ought to be able to can handle their own business. Now, that ain't exactly happening. And so the new bill that she's put forth, that'll come to the House probably this week, basically puts a referee involved in the game now. It goes to the clerk of court. And in this case, it has to be Jim Mixon, but it could have been whoever. The clerk of court in the past has the one that has the authority. If we can't come to a conclusion, they'll actually put the sheriff in place. They'll also, I think, maybe even install us as far as House Representatives and Senators, I think. But usually the party puts that forth, and it's up to the governor to turn it down. So in this case, though, it will allow him to make a decision. So all things are on the table. Now, I know the party itself, the executive committee, I haven't seen anything formally from y'all, but I've heard from many on the committee don't like this and are not happy because they feel like they've done everything right and put forth a candidate, and the school board should accept who they put forth, but they're not. So now, like I said, there's another person or another group that is coming in, which would be the NCGA, North Carolina General Assembly, to try to referee. And so this has gotten, like always, contentious at best. But now I guess my question is on this, and this is where my mindset is, people. Do we want to be right, or do we want to get the seat filled? Because we all know when we go to court, it can be speedy, or it can be very contentious and very drawn out. And I don't know where this case actually stands. So where is your timeline? Do you even have a timeline?
Well, again, I feel like our options are limited. We did what we were statutorily supposed to do. We offered a recommendation. And I even had some conversations with some of the school board members who didn't agree with us to say, look, you may not like the pick, but you guys are the ones in a deadlock. And maybe by taking the recommendation of the Republican Party, the only Republican Party in Iredell County, there's not two or three of them. We are the only governing body, that by taking our recommendation, that might help end your deadlock. And that wasn't going to happen. I did reach out to yourself, to Vicky kind of early on, but I think you guys have your hands full with trying to get the budget across.
We got a lot going on.
And so I was told, it may not be a chance for a local bill. Obviously, things changed, but I was basically told, hey, that may not be the way. And so with limited options, we went to, okay, well, if we can get a Superior Court judge to weigh in. Again, these Superior Court judges run with an RRD by their name. Mm-hmm. The Clerk of Court runs with an RRD by his name. Jim Mixon, we both know him. He's a fantastic guy, and he is a Republican. So all the more reason that when you get to the polls in November, and we need everybody to participate here in Iredell County in November, look all the way up and down that ballot, because you never know if somebody's going to be called on. Just like Dave Bullock now has a lot more on his plate with Board of Elections than the auditor ever had before him. In this case, if this local bill should go through, it looks like the Clerk of Court is going to be everybody's friend, or have some people mad at him. So there's some issues within the board. But again, we got 30 people on the board. Of that 30, not everybody was in lockstep on, should we file this lawsuit, this writ of mandamus? Should we just give the governing body, the school board, the time to wait, and maybe that time would be December when a few new members come on.
Sean, we're gonna go into overtime, y'all, which means we're gonna take our halfway break, but we're gonna grab Sean for a few more minutes afterwards just to finish the conversation. So stay with us. It's pretty good.
Learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water. Then stir it with a shovel.
Wow. You sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back here with the second half of the show. Got Sean McGowan. He's the chairman of the Iredell County Executive Committee, Republican Committee. And we're going into a little bit of overtime, not much longer, but just wanted to put some closure to this. And so they're in a lawsuit. We don't know the clock. We don't know whether the judge is going to give us, and that would really help me on a legislative side of this as the bill comes over from the Senate to the House. If he told me I'm going to give you an answer July 1st, wonderful. If he told me I'm going to give you an answer, and this is be the Superior Court judge, an answer August the 1st, that would be even good. I would know there would be some finite. Right now, there's not finite. We're going to get a budget done. For all y'all wondering out there, we are. I swear, I think we need to be tied down there till June the 30th and not allowed to leave personally till we get it done. But once we get it done, we're gone. I think we're not going to dilly-dally. There may be another day or two, you know. So I'm getting my purple suit out. That's what everybody kind of does on the last day, show that we are kind of getting along. So I'm getting it cleaned up. But anyway, so this bill's coming over, and unless some act or whatever, I'm going to vote for it for the fact that it will bring closure for the people in District 2. I'm praying that Jim Mixon makes a good choice. And Matt Youngblood, I talked to him last week, and I'll tell you, just like I told him, I would talk to Jim Youngblood. I would know that Jim Mixon, Matt should talk to Jim Mixon, and that he knows who he is, and because Jim's going to have to go through this interview process also. I don't think he's going to do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think he's going to, because he's never had to do this, I think he's going to be unbelievably thorough, but he has a clock on him. He has a 10-day clock. So I think at the end of the day, we can be right, or we can get representation that I think will be good for District 2. And so I guess I'm going with what I know, and that is getting representation for District 2, even though that may not be popular. I think it's needed in this situation. This has happened, folks, just to let you know, that this has happened before, that the county board has made recommendations to boards, mainly the county commissioners. I can know of twice in about the last 20 years. And the county commissioners did not take the party's recommendation. They chose somebody else, and usually it was somebody that had served with them before, that had agreed not to run again in a future election. so that nobody would necessarily get a leg up or down, because on the county commission, it's countywide, and whoever you choose would probably be your opponent to a point, even though they may be a fellow Republican, or if the Democrats are in charge, fellow Democrat. So with all that being said, there has been precedents in the past of not taking the party's pick. Don't know if that's good or bad, but they've always been able to figure it out and put somebody in. This is the first time I've ever seen we can't get somebody in the seat.
Yeah, and it's possible to have two things going on at the same time. One is that some of the same people that are in support of Matt Youngblood and are also in support of filling that seat and doing that in a speedy way. That there was even a petition that had gone around, mostly District 2 residents, but also some folks outside of District 2 that were in general support that there should be 7 members of the school board, as many times as possible.
We can have a vote.
As possible. Yeah, so that just like the Supreme Court is 9 members at the federal level and 7 at the state level, so that you don't have these sort of deadlocks and get nothing done. Now they've been able to get a lot done, but one of the things that they've been able to do is some crucial monetary fiscal votes for Weathers Creek High School, which happens to sit in District 2, no matter what you might have heard. So having, when we talk about the registered Republicans, even unaffiliated who lean our way, and even those who are registered the other side but deserve representation, we need to know who we call if we have questions, if we're District 2 representatives. So I think that there is a lot of support for ending the clock. Like you said, if there was a way that by filing a writ of mandamus that had we had a clock on us. We had to do our recommendation within 30 days. And maybe unlike some of the past recommendations that didn't go forward, this is a 2.5, nearly 3 years left of a term. I didn't see any action coming out of the General Assembly to put District 2's representative on the ballot. We are voting on 4 other school board members. It could have gone on the ballot. There didn't seem to be any desire to do that. And then you have a different story of who do we fill to just get us through the months until December of this year versus December of 2028. It's a very different question when you're considering who to vote for.
And I think one of the things we ran into there, if we do put it on the ballot, it wasn't going to be able to not be primaried on both the Democrat and Republican side.
I think the cost of a special standalone primary, and to all my Republicans out there, we did not get out in the primary. We were low compared to the state average. So I am trusting all Iredell Republicans and right-leaning unaffiliated to show up in November. We need to do better than our
because that could be contentious there in a lot of different ways.
Because low turnout, as we've seen in some of these special elections for congressmen. You see a standalone primary in August. Yeah. Well, if you only got 2 or 3% of the people to show up, did you really fairly poll the people?
Yeah, if you just did District 2 and those precincts, you're still talking probably somewhere around $25,000, $30,000 every time there's a vote in a precinct.
That's
like
right.
that.
Yeah. 15,000 people not being represented, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that go into it. I just wanted to remind everybody, and I'll remind Jim Mixon, that this particular vacancy appointment will serve a full 2 years past whenever they are welcomed onto the board.
Yeah, so they're going to be with us. All right, well, Sean, hey, we'll see what happens. I don't know if y'all want to continue your lawsuit because you do have some precedents to set. So good luck with that. Spend as little as you can. I want the money elsewhere, but right now I think we got to come. I think this is, as my dad would always say, well, it's finally come to a head. Something's got to give here, and so that's kind of where we're at. And so that bill will probably be coming into my inbox this coming week. I'm about positive, and we'll put Jim Mixon to work. That's the way I'm feeling it's going to happen unless something changes. Never know. Everybody votes on them. Maybe a lot of people on the other side don't want this. Who knows? We'll see. But thank you for coming on. Appreciate what you do for the party here in our county. And, folks, we're going to jump right into the second half of the show. So if somebody wants to call, and Sean may stay with us, 704-873-9929. Give us a holler. Always got a lot to talk about on here. All right. So, Sean, you going to hang out with us, or you got to get?
Probably got to get, unless the phone lines are ringing up.
Anybody call in? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All right, folks. Well, let's jump into some other good stuff here going on. So the Trump administration is taking a look into allegations, here we are, school board again, of males in female restrooms and locker rooms in the Cabarrus and now the Buncombe County school systems. This is a violation of Title IX constitutional rights that are being violated against these young ladies. Cabarrus does not have a set rule about this issue, but is taking it case by case. The Trump administration redefined sex as biological sex assigned at birth. The Biden administration allowed gender identity, which brought about quite an uproar in locker rooms and bathrooms. And you know the funny thing, Ron, is I never hardly hear women in the men's bathroom. We don't hear that. I guess the wall urinals cut out a lot of the problems. I guess that's the only thing I can figure. But anyway, so this is interesting to see. Both could lose federal funding if the investigation proves that the system allowed these situations to happen. NCGA has addressed this with Senate Bill 49, the Parent Bill of Rights. And school systems seem to continue to thumb their nose at us and dare us to do something over the Parent Bill of Rights. We had the Chapel Hill Carborough school system in front of the Government Operations Committee that I serve. And they sat there and lied to our face, and that tends to be what we find at most of these when we call them afoul of the law. That we're doing exactly, we're following it to the law. We're following just what you told us to do when we can blatantly see they have not. So I feel like we're on the clock down there trying to get this budget done, but I guess it's time to stop this craziness once and for all before a father, which we just had Father's Day, decide to do it first. And I'm not sure what's going to happen there. But I do know that I would be very upset if I found out that my daughter was being forced to dress and undress with other males in the room and her not wishing them to be there. There is a privacy in this country, and we need to observe it. And so this is very interesting. So anyway, if anybody would like to call, 704-873-9929. We got somebody? Let's see what we got. Put these headphones on today here. This is Representative Jeff McNeely. Who we got?
I just hung up.
Yep. Anyway, I think I know who it was, and I believe it to be Mark Cash. Let me get back to this here. You always do this to me when I want to get something pulled up. There we go. There is this coming Saturday, Troutman is having their annual 4th of July parade. I know we're doing a little bit early, but after the parade, the Iredell County Men's Republican Club is having their third annual cookout at the park behind City Hall Police Station there. I think it's ESC Park, and they're doing hamburgers and hot dogs. It's free. We got a lot going on, and this time there will be candidates there speaking, and elected officials. So if you want to come and talk or you want to come and listen to somebody, please come on out. Be right after the parade ends, and I think it's a great time of fellowship and get to hear from people. And we're also commemorating a good friend of mine, Ron Duck Wyatt. We're kind of doing some stuff there in memory of him. He passed away here a couple months ago. And so if you'd like to come out and join us after the Troutman Parade, please do. I think it will be a big time for all. And this is actually free. And I mean free. Although we'll probably try to get you to vote for us. But other than that, it's free, y'all. It's free. So come on out and in Troutman at the park behind City Hall right there off of Main Street 21. Come check us out. I think you'll enjoy it. I really do. So, all right. So real quick, Time's moving around today. You've heard me talk about this, and I know a lot of you say, It is called the New World Screwworm Fly. And I know that's a lot. But it's been in Mexico, started in Central America. This actually happened back in the 70s in the United States, and it was devastating to the cattle industry, but livestock in general. And this fly, I know this is going to sound kind of nasty and vulgar, y'all, but it actually lands on an animal, bites it. When it bites, it inserts its eggs into the skin, carcass of an animal, and they proceed to turn into something similar to a MRSA. These eggs go about eating flesh. And then they hatch and become more flies that go and land. And we have now stopped movement of live cattle from Mexico, South America, basically, Central America especially, not so much South America, of these animals. But yet we now have 4 cases confirmed in Texas. Part of the problem is cattle move around, sometimes on their own, sometimes with a lot of help. And so it's been 3 cows and a dog in New Mexico, right on the border, right down there at Mexico and Texas. So I don't know if we got anybody's attention last time when I talked about the devastation it could cause the cows, and it can be lethal. And it will cause an issue that you'll probably put the animal down because the meat will not be able to be used. And now we're talking about dogs. And as we well know, about 15 years ago, in some kind of secret vote that I didn't participate in, dogs became humans. And so this is getting more serious when you talk about it could kill dogs because I know how people feel about their pets. So take for heart here, folks. This is not a joking, laughing matter. This is very serious, and our attempt to control this insect has been to create, I know it sounds crazy, male sterile New World screwworm flies that they will breed, because they only breed once, the female does, and this will make her eggs sterile, and then it will basically decrease slowly but surely the population till wintertime comes and maybe kills off the rest. But our problem is we're about a year behind on producing enough male sterile flies to do the job. So in the meantime, they could do a lot of different types of pesticides to kill this, but nobody's wanting to do that. We can't get the cooperation from Central America and Mexico. We got to call in. Hey, this is Representative Jeff McNeely. Who do we got?
You have Bobby on the phone.
Hello, Bobby. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I listened to your conversation with Sean, and I was just wondering, if it does go to Jim Mixon, is that not a conflict of interest, since he is the one that appoints the judge for the lawsuit?
Actually, the Superior Court judge, which would be Joe Crosswhite, is the one that sets the actual judge's schedule, Miss Bobby. All Jim does is work out the court room situation. So it would be Joe Crosswhite that actually sets up the schedule for that. And maybe Joe could hear it. I don't know. They've moved the Superior Court judges around, and that's where it will go to Superior Court the way they have it set now.
Okay, well, I was just wondering about that because that just didn't seem quite right to me.
Yeah,
but
I get you.
But obviously, you've got your mind made up on what you're going to do. So,
well, I think we got to do something, or it's going to go on for a long time. Like I said earlier, I think there's one side that wants it to be done immediately, and not necessarily. And I'm talking about on the school board of the 3 elected. They want somebody immediately, and the other side wants to stall. And I figure stall till the first of the year. And a lot of times with lawsuits, you can make them last just as long as you want to. And that's my fear, that we're going to go another 6 months, or who knows, maybe more, without anybody in District 2. So the question is, do we want to get what the executive committee wants done, and I'm not saying they don't deserve that, or do we want to get somebody in that space? And we had a great interview. Folks, I'm going to let out a little common knowledge that I know here. This is Miss Bobby Youngblood. Bobby, hope you don't mind me telling you all, but this is Matt's mother, and fine woman, and you raised a fine son. He seemed like a good guy. He really does.
Lieutenant Colonel Matt Youngblood.
Exactly. And served our country well. And I we talked the other day, me and Vicki, and we said, I hope Matt gets it. I think he's a good guy. So we don't know, but we're going to allow the process to play out. But the good news is for District 2, we're going to get some representation, because you and I both know right now the school board is not doing business like it should, and they're in a deadlock. And something has got to unlock this deadlock. And
we know what that could have been right from the bat.
I'm not going to deny you one bit on that, ma'am. I'm not.
The process was done, and they have other agendas that they want to do, and they don't want Matt voting against them. So, that's basically what's going on, and it's just not really fair.
I agree. I'm not going to, I am not arguing this one bit. And this is what I always tell people. If it gets to the point where we get involved, probably nobody's going to like what happens. They're just not. And that's kind of where it's at. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had chose not to participate in this. I was going to let, they're an elected board, and I was going to let them figure it out. But since something has been put forth, well, then I feel like I'm kind of being forced to participate, and I do think this would bring closure. And just like I told Matt, and I will tell you, I would definitely talk with Jim Mixon, and I would definitely let him know that Matt is still a very interested, very interested candidate for this position, and a qualified candidate at that.
Right. Yeah, well, I just want everybody to know that I am on the GOP board.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I did not vote for Matt because I don't live in that district.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Well, I'll let you go, Jeff. Have a great day.
You too, ma'am. You too.
Okay,
Take care.
thanks.
I appreciate you. Bye-bye. All right, and we're getting down here near the end. So anyway, this has been really serious, and that's why I wanted to bring it up before I got into my crazies that get stuff. And I got to do real quick. But this New World Screwwife Farm, I'm probably going to file some legislation starting next year. I pray I get elected in January. Right now, the penalty, if you would happen to move cattle that have not gone through the quarantine process from the state of Texas or anywhere in that region, is very nominal. And I think we need to make sure that it is a lot more physically painful for somebody to move cattle illegally, because this could be so detrimental to North Carolina. We have so many hogs, so much cattle, so many other animals. 66% of our receipts in agriculture, which is the number one industry in the state, comes from animal inventories and livestock. It would be devastating to the state of North Carolina. So we've got to make sure that we protect us. I love Texas, great people, but we got to make sure. All right, I'm going to jump over a few other things that I had. One of them was Gavin Newsom and his issues with his tax on the rich. But the big thing I think we need to get to here, because I've only got a few minutes, Crazy as It Gets, Part 1, real fast. So Representative Virginia Foxx is being sued by a former Columbia University student, Kamaya James. James states that they're suing Representative Foxx because she abused her power as chairperson of the Higher Ed Committee and brought them forward an investigation on anti-Semitism claims by Jewish students at Columbia campus. And this guy here is about as crazy as it gets. So he's claiming that because Virginia Foxx investigated Columbia because these kids encamped in front of buildings and would not let Jewish students in because they supported Hamas, and actually stated how he would like to see more Jewish people dead, and was suspended by Columbia, and then they would not let him come back in and re-enroll. And so that's Virginia Fox's fault, because this guy basically participated in an illegal protest that blocked entrance for a certain type of people, in this case Jewish people, and also said he wanted them all dead. Whose fault is it again? Virginia Fox's? I don't think so. Hopefully they're going to throw this goofy crap out. So anyway, all right. Now, real quick, because I got about a minute or so, and I hope I pronounced her name right. Remember this name. Daraliza Avila Chevalier is a Democrat Socialist congressional candidate, of course, endorsed by Zoran Mandami, for the 13th district, I think it is, of New York State, into the House there. She is a 30-year-old investigator at the Public Defender's Office in New York City, doctoral student, and has emerged as one of the more prominent left-wing challengers in the country after the Mondami endorsement. And it is the 13th district against a 5-term Democratic Andrando Spot. Now, this lady, she is Hispanic, and I think also she is... He describes her as Afro-Latina. Yeah, Afro-Latina. And so her thing right now is she basically has all these tweets out there that they've reviewed, and she calls for abolishing the police, prisons, and borders. Tweets about communism, calls for open borders, zero deportation, I can't even say the word, deporting, and explicit related attacks on other Democrats, even who aren't near as left as she is. And she keeps saying her opponent just keeps bringing up old news. But she wants to say a world without borders, just like a world without prisons or police, is possible, necessary, and the only moral way forward. So she was actually questioned by a very liberal reporter that somebody that killed somebody shouldn't go to prison. She never would answer the question. She basically just went around beat around the bush, saying that this should not have ever happened, and if it had not never happened, we wouldn't need prisons. But it did, and it does happen, and we can't put them in timeout. Crazy as it gets. Lord help us. You know what? The polls are showing she's got a chance. She may actually go and serve. This is crazy as it gets. All right, dear Lord, Heavenly Father, I hope you make sense of this. I struggle, and I pray you give me wisdom. I pray you give all of us wisdom. And I pray, Lord, for those who are lost, I hope they find their way to you. Lead and guide us in all we do. And, Lord, help us get a budget done for this state. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insight into the topics shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care, and thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
When your celebration of life is prepared, it becomes a gift to your family later. No one should have to pay for a loss when they're experiencing one. Paying in advance protects your loved ones and gives you the peace of mind you deserve. Let us help you plan every detail with professionalism and compassion. We're Bunch Johnson Funeral Home, 705 Davie Avenue, Statesville. Call us at 704-873-7223 to schedule an appointment.
WAME and Bunch Johnson Funeral Home are proud to present our national anthem, Bunch Johnson, where every detail matters.